Thanks for joining us, Nicolas.
Thank you.
What is BlaBlaCar? What is this BlaBla about?
So that's what I was describing on stage. So that's the power of a funky name, is that everybody is asking me like, why the hell are you called BlaBlaCar, and what's wrong with that name? And actually, it's a story about the product. So when you sign up on BlaBlaCar, which is a long-distance ride-sharing website, so it allows passengers to book seats in other people's car. Essentially, when you sign up, you describe who you are, you put your picture, you put your preferences, and one of the things you do is you actually describe how much you talk in a car. So if you don't want to talk, you're going to put yourself as a blah, and if you're very talkative and you want to be very social, you're a blah, blah, blah. So every 5 million users on BlaBlaCar understand why we call BlaBlaCar, and the fact that there is a story, so it's two things. The fact that there is a story behind the name makes it very viral, so the word of mouth is pretty powerful. And also, every time you do a press interview, people ask you, so you can talk about your brand, which is pretty good. So,
I would imagine car sharing, like as a female traveling alone somewhere in Europe, I have a few doubts in my mind. How have you dealt with this? First of all, do you have these issues? Do you have security issues? And second of all, how do you communicate?
So essentially, you're right. I mean, safety and security is one of the biggest things we have to address. And it's not just BlaBlaCar, it's all the sharing economy. When it's about sharing a flat, sharing a room, sharing a car, sharing a seat in a car. So you need to worry about those issues. And essentially the way we address that is by doing lots of different things. So one of them is by creating very complete profiles where you can see the picture, you can see the Facebook connections of the drivers and the passengers. We also allowed peer reviews, so you can rate your passengers and rate your drivers. So today we have something like 5 or 6 million reviews actually in the communities between drivers and passengers. Then we also do all kind of checks. So we check your mobile number, and we link your account to your mobile number. We check your bank account. We check your credit card when you pay online. So in a way, what we found is as you accumulate all these checks and verification and social proof, you reduce the risk and you reduce the perception of risk in the community, and the adoption is much higher. And then one thing we have for female drivers and female passengers is we have this feature called Ladies Only. So essentially, you can only accept female passengers or female drivers.
Very nice. Here at Slush, you were talking about expansion. What's that going to be? Where are you expanding? You're right now in Paris.
So we started the company in France, and in a way, the funny thing about this community is that it's very local. It's very domestic in a way, because your passengers and your drivers are only going to travel within one country. So what we had to do very quickly is expand all over Europe. And the way we've done that is by setting up local teams in every country. So we've done that in Spain, in Italy, Germany, UK, Poland. I'm forgetting a couple of countries. And we've done that pretty quickly by having local teams or by acquiring companies. So one thing I guess I was able to do, having spent a bit of time as a VC, was not being too scared of doing some M&A, which tends to be like a big company sport. But in fact, it's not that complicated, and you can do that very early in the life of a company. So you can have like a 20-people company acquiring a 2-people company and grow your footprint into, for example, Italy or Poland. And that's the way we've grown very quickly.
You mentioned VC. You have a very unusual background. You were a startup turned VC, turned back into startup. Was it the lack of speed, or what drove you back to the grind?
No, it's funny because in a way it always happens a bit by accident. So I ended up actually finishing my studies in Silicon Valley in '99, and back then I didn't want to be a startup or anything, but it was '99 and it was Silicon Valley. So people told me like, okay, that's what you need to do. That's out of university, you need to go and work for a startup. So I did, and I went through this whole cycle of '99, 2000, and then the crash, and then I restarted that company. And in 2006, so I've learned a few things actually. In 2006, I realized venture capital mattered, and it was important to be able to raise money and understand venture capital. So I decided to move on, do an MBA, and then I worked for a few years in venture capital. And in a way, I loved venture capital, but I was missing two things. I was missing building stuff, really building stuff, and I was also missing managing teams. And in a way, I met my co-founder, and the three of us started BlaBlaCar.
So sharing economy is quite a wave now, I would say. Would you say that you were on the wave when it started, or did you get excited about it, or at what point did you jump on? And was it something that you smelled and then wanted to do that, or totally different?
No, for us, it's funny because we started the first website actually in 2006, and 2006 was way before the sharing economy was cool. So essentially, when we describe what we wanted to do in 2006, 2007, and really up to like a year and a half ago, people thought of that as a bit crazy. They thought like, oh, it's like hitchhiking online, and that's weird. And the funny thing is, as all these websites started to explode, like Airbnb, TaskRabbit, BlaBlaCar, and so on. Now, when I describe the concept, people say, "Oh yeah, I get it. It's the sharing economy. It's like Airbnb for cars, or this and that." So it's interesting because when we started the company, we were not thinking collaborative consumption or sharing economy, and then we've got sort of caught into that wave, which was very good for us, right? Because then it's easier to explain what you do. So it saves a lot of time, actually.
How do you respond to the criticism of sharing economy? Because there's been some criticism saying that actually sharing economy is not sharing, it's renting, and actually the people that are reaping the benefits are sitting on top and not the people who are renting. Is that something that you feel is true or not?
I think the reality is it depends a lot on the service. So if we look at what we're doing, actually, it's probably very close to sharing in a sense that our drivers actually don't make a profit, and they don't drive to carry people. They just drive because they happen to drive between London and Manchester, let's say. So the fact that they don't make a profit, actually what they do is they just offset the cost of driving, the cost of motoring. So it's really about sharing. Now, if you, for example, rent your car, clearly you start making money in a way. So I think it depends. In a way, we start calling sharing economy all kind of stuff. And some of them, you're right, they're really about renting and making a profit on an asset. Some others are about leveraging an asset you own just to offset the cost. And we fall into that second category, I think.
I might be wrong. Is France very conservative about this? Because I could imagine the French going, "Non, c'est ma voiture. I'm not going to share it with anyone." Was it difficult there? How did you overcome that?
So it's funny because I think in every market we went into, people told us why it's not going to work. And so when we first pitched the business, or at least the idea of the business in 2007, and it was while we were doing an MBA, people said like, okay, it's never going to work. If you guys get like 100,000 people in France doing that, you'll get all the hippies and bums in France, and that's going to be it. Then it worked, and today we have like almost, we have 5 million people. We have 400,000 people joining the service every month. So when we went into Spain, people said, "Oh no, the car is it's very important for a Spaniard to have his own car, and they're never going to share." And then it worked in Spain, and then people told us it's a Southern European thing, and then it worked in Germany, and so on and so on. So I think the reality is you don't know what you don't know, and you need to offer the service, and it's hard to guess actually what users might like or not like. But the reality is we haven't found that big of a difference between the way the French use the service, or the Germans, or the Polish, or the Italians. So it's pretty uniform in a way.
5 million people is a lot. That's approximately a bit less than the population of Finland. Have you thought of data mining? I mean, that would be a great opportunity for robo-cars or something like this to be there. Have you looked into all the sets that you've gathered, or how do you accumulate data? Is it the orders that you process online, or?
So what's your question? Like, how do we accumulate data?
Have you thought about using the data, and if yes?
Okay, so in a way, I mean, yes, but we haven't, in a way. So we have lots of very interesting data. For example, I mean, today we have about 1 million people using the service every month. So it's more people actually using BlaBlaCar than the Eurostar. So what's really interesting is they tell you in advance where they want to go. So in terms of like traffic information and all that stuff, it's very powerful because you get like close to 1 million data point telling you that at 6:30 p.m. they're going to go from Paris to Brussels or whatever. And so we started to do some videos on that, mostly for marketing purposes. But actually, there is a lot of value in all the data because we have predictive data. So we're not tracking drivers as they drive. We actually know when they're going to drive, which is interesting.
What's your next steps, next plans, expansion now? What's longer term? It's not ride sharing. There's robotic cars that are coming very fast, and different kinds of electric cars, and I don't know what else is happening in the auto industry. What are your thoughts on future?
So I think, I mean, going from near future to far future, the near future for us would be keep expanding all over Europe. We're going to launch Russia very soon, so we're going to explore like another big market. And today we're starting to think that there is no reason it would not work pretty much anywhere people have cars. Now, if you think of further future and electric cars or Google cars, in a way, I think what we do is we're just building a transport network. So we just allow passengers to book those seats in drivers' cars or in any cars and travel across the country. So whether there is a driver in the car or no driver in the car might not make a big difference for us at the end. But I think we have time before all of Europe is driverless cars. Actually, it's going to take a while.
And when you drive, do you share? Do you call other people, put it online? Do you drive a lot?
Actually, I used to drive a lot between Paris and Brussels. So I used to be a driver on BlaBlaCar. Now I'm more often a passenger in the UK, actually. So I've done quite a bit of London-Cambridge, actually, in the UK as a passenger. But the key is, all the employees, actually, there is a real point there. All the employees at BlaBlaCar use the service all the time. And that's the way we extract like all the product feedbacks and what's going on and what you should improve. So we all use the product. And as an employee, all your BlaBlaCar rides are paid for, essentially. So,
what's one thing you promised to do at Slush, or you're looking forward to? What's been a highlight, or something that you're going to look at here?
So I guess my highlight was like walking on stage from here, which took me 15 minutes, just elbowing my way, which is pretty impressive. No, I was really looking forward to, or I'm looking forward to Slush because. Essentially, after like 7 years working in the US in startups, I worked as a VC in London. And frankly, I knew nothing about the Nordics. So I knew nothing about the entrepreneurial scene in Sweden. And when I worked as a VC, I discovered lots of startups in Sweden, in Finland, and I discovered how entrepreneurial the whole region really is. And I thought two things were really interesting. A, it's super entrepreneurial. And B, that's probably the only region in Europe that really understands going global fast. And that's one thing that, as French entrepreneurs or I guess German entrepreneurs, we really suck at. And we suck at that because it's almost like our country is too big yet too small. So we spend too much time like doing like a French business, and when we wake up, we realize that we've only built a French business. And Finnish companies or Swedish companies don't do that mistake. So.
Well, thank you, Nicolas. Lucky him, there's a sauna warming, so he can go there. And soon up, we'll have our next guest. Please help me in thanking Nicolas.
Thank you.